to start Access 2007, we'll go to Programs, and my Access 2002 is over here, and my 2007 is within a folder called Office, and it depends how you installed it, how this will come out. So I'll go into that folder and click on that, and it will open Access 2007. Now I can either open a database I've done recently, so these are some databases I've looked at recently, or I could do a template, use a template, but I really don't use templates because they never do exactly what you want. It's so much better to do everything from start. And what we might want to do is open a blank database. So if we want a blank database, we can either click here for new, or on here and click new, and again here we can see some recent documents. So let's click new at first just to see what it looks like, and down over here it's asking us what do we want to call the database. So let's say example, and come down and create that. So this is, if you're creating a blank database, this is what you'll see at the beginning. And I don't tend to use, I don't like entering the data first. I like to design the table first. So I would close this and go to create table. In fact, I would do create table design, and I would start by naming the fields. Maybe it would be student ID, or depends what I'm doing. If I'm doing a student table, student ID, first name, last name, but I would start entering the table. Now, the difference between Access 2002 and 2007, for a start, here we've got the tables. In Access 2002, we have a label here, queries, reports, and we would go there to make a new query or report. So that's one thing different. Also, this opens and closes, whereas in Access 2002 it's a separate window. And the big difference is this, they call it a ribbon along the top. In 2002 you only have these menus, you don't have this ribbon. So I'll just explain the ones that we'll use. First, we're going to have to create some things because we have nothing. So we can either create a table, and I would normally use Design View for that. Create a form. You can use form in Design View, or I usually use a wizard, form wizard. We can't create a form at the moment because we have no tables. And quite often we'll create a query, and I would tend to use Design View for that. And create a report, I would tend to use the report wizard. So it's up to you what you're comfortable with, but those are the ones I'm comfortable with. And the other thing that we'll look at quite often is on database tools, and it's the relationships. So because we haven't got any data at the moment, let's open one that I've used already. So I can go here and I can either open, or I can look at a recent example here. So let's look at a recent example. And now we can see along here we've got some tables. This example is a school. So we've got students, we've got classes, we've got classrooms, and we've got teachers. And double click will open. This is another difference, that when you open these tables in 2007, you'll get tabs along here as you open new tables. So it is quite easy if you've opened the classes, the classrooms, and the teachers. You can flick between the different tables. Whereas with Access 2002, you would normally open, close, open another one, close it again. So that is an advantage there. These, let's carry on down here. We've got some queries that we've written, and I'll go into that later. We've got some forms that we've written, and we'll look at those, and we've got some reports that we've done. So that's all along the left. The default doesn't look like this. It doesn't look like tables and queries. The default, I think I can get to it here. No, I can't. Maybe there. Okay, the default, by right-clicking up here, we can decide how we want that to look. This is the one I choose by object type. It tells us which are tables, which are queries. But we can also do it in other ways. We can do it by here. We can see this is a table. It's not that clear to see, but this means table, this means form, and this means report. And they've grouped them together with the table, so everything here is related to the teachers table, and everything here is related to enrollment. So it's grouped them together a different way. I just tend to choose this object type because I'm familiar with it. So it just becomes easier. We can see which are tables, which are queries, and which are reports. So that's there, right mouse and category. So again, we can hide that if we want. And I've got warning up here. I'm not sure why that is, but let's get rid of that warning. Now, a big problem, especially with me teaching, because I'm using a smaller screen to be able to show it on the video, and this ribbon that they call it is just too big. So I use a right mouse on this toolbar, and here we've got to minimize the ribbon. So it just gives me more space to work. And I can still do the same things. When I click on create, I can still find all the same tools. And if I'm looking at a certain table, for example, I've opened, let's just that. I've opened the classes, and then I can start using this. For example, I want to view the design view or something. But then once I'm in a table, I click on this home, and I get the tools that I want to use. If I want to create a new, click on create, new table, new form, whatever. And the other one I said before we'll look at quite a lot is the relationships, because this is the heart of the, well, maybe the tables are the heart and the relationships are the blood vessels. So here we look at the relationships between the tables. So we'll look at this quite a lot, and if we're not familiar, especially if we've just written this database and we can't remember what we did, we'll come back to this to remember how it's put together. So those are the only parts that we really need to look at, and clicking that again, we can see we can save it or save as something else.